Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Danny and V. If you're coming back, thank you for joining us again. And if this is your first time here, welcome. I am Vanessa Ford. I'm one of the co-founders of Menopause. And joining me today, as always, is my co-founder, Danielle.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm so glad you're here. And welcome to us in our natural states. This is a promise we made on our last video that we would come makeup free. And we're going to be here today just kind of talking actually about heart and bone health is kind of our topics that we want to talk about today. And we're going to be putting on our makeup as we go so you can just kind of see us
in our natural state. Mask me and all.
Yes. The new things that we have to deal with, right? There's, I'm sure, a lot of women out there that are, especially in workplaces, nurses, doctors, stuff like that. Even if you're working, any kind of retail job right now or anything like that, you're having to wear a mask all day. So you're suffering and challenging, from possible breakouts from your masks and having something resting there on your face all the time. So
yeah, I have this little plastic insert that goes in my mask to keep it away from my mouth so that I can breathe a little easier. And but what I'm finding is that little plastic insert just sort of collects all the bacteria and the product that's on my face or whatever it is, right? And I tend to break out right where that little plastic thing rests. So the other day when I had to wear my mask, I tried little antiseptic wipes to sort of kill the bacteria. And I did notice that the breakout is not as bad as it normally is. So score one for antiseptic wipes.
We need something on our side, right?
Exactly. So the plan today, as Danielle said, is for us to put on our makeup and chat to you guys about what we've discovered with our research partner, Dr. John Cornelis, over the last year and a half about what menopause does to your heart health and your bone health. So I am going to let Danielle start talking about heart health while I survey the products in front of me and figure out what I want to do with my face today.
All right, so let's talk about heart health. One of the things I'm going to forewarn is as I've gotten older, I do not multitask as well as I used to. So I am hoping that I'm going to continuously be able to do my makeup and talk at the same time. So this is going to be an interesting experiment from all angles.
Exactly. Well, I was thinking that very thing when we decided we were going to do this, sort of on the spur of the moment. The last time we did our Coffee with Danny V, we sort of just decided we would do this. And it's going to definitely be interesting because I'm about a decade older than Danielle, so I definitely do not multitask as well as I used to.
It's on the multitasking side of things, it's my kids that are constantly pointing out how well I'm not multitasking because they often are trying to talk to me while I'm doing something else. And I literally have to stop and say, I'm doing an email right now. I can't do both at the same time.
Well, especially because you're working from home now, right? And so,
yes.
yeah.
So,
Well, I don't even, I have a daughter who's an adult. She lives with us right now because of COVID, but we do have dogs, 3 of them, and they are as bad as toddlers, I'm telling you. They want what they want when they want it. And they're very, very noisy.
I have one vocal dog and one unvocal dog. The vocal dog definitely lets you know when he wants a treat and all that fun stuff. But all right, so let's talk about heart health. Heart health is one of those things that I think a lot of women are becoming more aware of, but they are not, it's not the same as weight gain. It doesn't bother you, right? It's not in your face. It's not something you see in the mirror every day. You don't see your heart health, right? You don't get to see that. So it's a lot of, you feel like you're guessing a lot. You feel like, or you're just naive and moving through life, and and I hate to use the word naive, but we're just moving through life and hoping that all is good and well in the heart health area. And
Well,
here's
I mean, just to interject there, when you say naive, I think, it's a little bit justified because we're always told that heart disease is a man's issue. Heart attacks are a man's thing. And that's not what we're finding.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's one of the biggest points here, ladies, today, is for you to realize and understand that cardiovascular issues, heart attacks, actually affect more women than men. And guess what the biggest trigger is for women? It is menopause. There's a huge change that happens through menopause that affects our heart health. And we actually see a huge decline in heart health and the risk of heart attacks going up substantially as your body goes through menopause. So one of the things that Vanessa and I, found through our research with Dr. John Canillis was that how important heart health was and the effects of heart health through menopause, and our flagship probiotic B420, how beneficial that is for heart health and for women going through menopause. And he has done quite a bit of research and studies on this particular probiotic, and we include it in all of our probiotic lines. So we secretly kept all of you healthy, even if that's not something we, is not the top, discussed thing for that probiotic, because we want all of you women to be healthy. But it's such an important piece, and it's one of the reasons why our probiotics are so important for women going through menopause. And the B420, what the research has been done on it is showing is that it helps reduce if you have a heart attack or you do have cardiovascular issues as you age, then if you are taking this probiotic, you will actually reduce the severity of what could have happened, right? So the effects of the heart attack by over 50%. Just by having this probiotic in your system. Now, it also helps protect your heart going forward so that you're at less risk for actually having a heart attack. And that was one of the things that Vanessa and I said, well, this has to be in every product, because there's no way that any woman, whether she is taking heart health seriously or not, or thinking about it or not, whether you want to take it seriously, maybe it's just not top of mind, like the weight gain is, like the acne is, like all of those things that are really in our face when we look in the mirror. We wanted that for every woman.
We're your little heart health fairies.
I love that. We're the heart health fairies. So
yeah, so I just want to mention that the reason why estrogen is so important when it comes to your heart health is that estrogen, when it's a stable level of estrogen in your body, what it does is helps keep your arteries flexible. So your arteries are not hardening the way they can when estrogen is fluctuating wildly. And so that probiotic, because it's in your system, is helping deconjugate the estrogen that you already have and are storing in your fat tissues. And you're going to be able to make use of that estrogen, your own estrogen again. And again, our probiotics also have phytoestrogens in them as well. So we're trying to address your estrogen levels through phytoestrogens and through those probiotics Danielle was talking about, so that your estrogen levels aren't on a roller coaster, right? They're more lovely little beach waves.
I love that. Lovely little beach waves. We need lovely little beach waves for our estrogen levels.
I need lovely little beach waves, just,
in general.
in general.
And that's understanding the way that the body works, the estrogen level and how that's affecting us. That's one of those background science, pieces of information that Vanessa and I and Dr. John Canellis are always looking at. And that's, the research side of things that you guys don't necessarily see all the time, but we are constantly looking at how menopause, how estrogen levels, all of that is affecting our body. And so we can bring you guys the best relief that we can find naturally on the market to help you with all of your symptoms and just getting through menopause, because menopause sucks.
Yeah, it does. Oh my God.
All of the things that throws at you, it just sucks. And there's those women out there that I talk to all the time that say, oh, I barely, even noticed menopause. And I worship those ladies. A lot of it does has to do with genetics. We've kind of talked about that before, that if you want to know your timeline as to when you're going to possibly go through menopause, talk to your mom. See when your mom started seeing signs of menopause, what age she was, that kind of thing. There's a big correlation with genetics there. And, if your mother, grandmother, you can talk to them and see when they started and what kind of symptoms they had. And most likely what you'll see is you'll have very similar timelines.
Well, and it's good to talk to them just from a standpoint of understanding that other women go through this too, right? We have traditionally not talked about this. Now, my mom went into surgically induced menopause in her early to mid 30s. So she didn't have a lot of information to hand off to me because it was a little bit different for her. But my aunts have had really interesting experiences that, we would not have just shared around the dinner table.
Right.
And it's really been me pushing the conversation with them and really asking in a way that shows them that I'm honestly interested in what's going on with them. And it's been my friends who are, my same age and a little bit older, my aunts, and my sister is about 3 or 4 years younger than, well, one of my sisters. And so, she's having some inklings of things, and I have a really close cousin who's had some inklings of things. And it's a good to talk to each other about these things. We shouldn't be afraid to talk to other women about what is going on in a woman's body.
Yes. Yeah. And, some of us don't have our mothers, some of us don't have our grandmothers, or, different thing. Every woman is different. Their support structure is different. Their family life is different. Talk to friends, that might not give you the genetic stuff. You might be adopted, so you don't know your biological mother. There's all kinds of things that play into that. But don't be afraid to talk to friends, coworkers. Really just find a support network. The person you call mother, sometimes that's not even our own mothers. Friends become family all the time. So, don't be afraid to talk to people. Don't be afraid to even just share stories of what's going on, because it's going to help you. It's going to help you through this journey. That's one of the things that we have found that's fundamentally wrong with menopause in general is the willingness women, or comfortableness that they feel talking about menopause, and how taboo that's kind of been in the past. And, that's been one of our big missions, is to encourage women to talk about it, be open about it, find the courage to discuss these things that, we find disgusting or gross or, personal, or, I think we've been trained to kind of keep those things in and not, discuss them and be open about what's going on with ourselves. And it's made, from all the women we've talked to, that mentality around it has made menopause so lonely. And we don't want you to be lonely. And even if Vanessa and I are your support structure through menopause by listening to us and hearing our stories and what's going on, or our advice. That's what we're here for. That's what, we're here for, that encouragement, that you can find that support in any way you can. Even if you're afraid to talk to your friends, or afraid to talk to, or, just don't feel comfortable. It doesn't even have to be a fear factor, but, you just don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, some of us have no shame.
Yeah.
I have, I don't have any. And that's one of the things I think is really freeing about menopause in particular, is that, after a while, you just don't care anymore. It is your body, you're going to own it. And I definitely feel like I'm there. As a young woman, I definitely had shame around my body, and I'm over that. So if you come here and listen to Coffee with Danny and V, you're going to get an honest to God picture about what's going on with us and what's happening with us. And like I said, I have no shame. I'm willing to talk about anything. So, but I do want to, we said we were going to talk about bone health.
Yes.
So I really want to touch on that, because that's, again, something that women just don't think about. And I'm here to tell you, ladies, that as soon as your estrogen starts to fluctuate, that impacts your bones. And we need to have an honest conversation about what's happening to your bone structure, so that you can mitigate that and have healthy bones for as long as possible. So I'm going to try to do that while I put on makeup. Let's see how well I do.
No, I'm putting on mascara. Do you ladies do the little, like?
Oh yeah, I have to.
As your
Yeah, I have to. So
I do.
this is great, because I just have reached the lipstick stage of my makeup, and now I got to talk while I put it on. So
lipstick real quick.
So one of the things that I think is really fascinating is that, and I didn't know this going into this journey, was that we have estrogen receptors all over our bodies, right? They're on our skin, they're in our intestinal tract, they're everywhere, because estrogen is so critically important to almost all of the functions in a female body. And so when those estrogen levels start to fluctuate like they do in menopause, it can really impact things. And one of the things that it impacts the most is your bones. So estrogen helps promote healthy bone tissue, right? Those estrogen receptors talk to your bone cells, and they tell your bones when you should be making osteoblasts, which are the cells that create bone structure and bone tissue. And they talk to your osteoclasts, which are the cells that help you expel excess bone tissue. So you can imagine that if your estrogen levels are fluctuating wildly, that what's happening is that your osteoblasts and your osteoclasts are not functioning at their optimum levels, right? And so your bones start to get more porous over time, kind of spongy, because the estrogen receptors are not talking to your osteoblasts and your osteoclasts and telling you to make bone tissue and to expel the excess bone tissue. So if you can, again, get some phytoestrogens in your system and use some probiotics to help deconjugate your own estrogen, you're going to help mitigate the impact of that. Now, yes, we're all aging, and eventually our bones are going to become porous, but we can help make that transition smoother. We can help our bones be healthier longer if we're supplanting the estrogen in our body with phytoestrogens, and recycling is, in essence, that deconjugated estrogen in our own bodies. So again, we snuck that stuff into the formulas so that you wouldn't have to think about it. You would just get those benefits anyway, because it's just not something that's on a lot of women's radar. And it's certainly not on your radar when you're 35 and your estrogen levels start to fluctuate. And it needs to be on your radar as early as 35, right?
Yeah.
So again, we're your little heart health fairies, we're your little bone health fairies, because we understand the critical importance of estrogen to those systems, and we want to make sure that you're benefiting from what we've learned.
Yeah, and we want to make sure that you're benefiting in ways that you don't realize you're benefiting. I think, and bone and heart health are definitely those two topics that, women start worrying about it as they get older and they actually see that, maybe they've got osteoporosis. So now all of a sudden, once it's become a bigger issue, we start paying attention to it. And we want to help you transition through menopause as smoothly as possible. It is the best, healthiest version of you as possible. And so some of those, the things that the vitamins and minerals that we included to really help with that bone and heart health are your vitamin D, your calcium, your vitamin K, and those antioxidants. And those are things that sometimes we think of in different ways. Like, we always think of, vitamin D, you get it naturally from the sun.
If you're lucky enough to live somewhere where there's a lot of sun.
Yes. And as we're ending winter right now, most women realize, that live in those colder areas, how much you actually stay indoors. And those nutrients are so important for helping you and your body, and sometimes, we get a lot of questions of whether you can take a multivitamin because we include these in our probiotics, and the answer is yes. We do not include so much additional vitamin D, calcium, vitamin K, and that kind of thing, and the antioxidants that it would be too much for your system. So we definitely designed it to work in conjunction with a multivitamin, but it's giving you the boost of those very specific vitamins and minerals that we know a woman going through menopause that's losing her estrogen needs in her body to be the healthiest version of herself going through menopause. So that's why we've included those. They're the ones that women going through menopause just need a little extra boost of. And some things like the vitamin K helps the calcium absorption. So, we want to make sure that you're getting that. Not all multivitamins include vitamin K.
Right.
It depends on how complex of a multivitamin you're taking, but that, and sometimes even calcium. And there's a bunch of different types of calcium out there, and we've been very careful with our type of calcium that we've included. And we included the vitamin K to help the absorption of the calcium, because that is an important, crucial piece for your bone health. We think of taking calcium and loading up on calcium, but how much of it is actually getting absorbed? And that's the thing that we really want to help happen, and that's where the vitamin K comes into play.
Yeah,
so,
you can take calcium all day long, and if you don't have the right vitamin K levels in your system, it doesn't mean anything. You're just passing it out in your waste, right?
Yeah.
You can't make use of it. So, man, bodies are so interesting.
Right? Yes, and and that was that was really a revelation for me as I began my nutrition journey, and the more interest I gained in nutrition and studying nutrition, and really my nutrition journey started from my mother-in-law. She has an allergy to MSG. And I didn't know growing up what MSG was and how horrible it was for people and how abundant it is in the American diet foods, these processed foods that are out there.
In some people's supplements, not ours, but we have done some research and noticed that some of our competitors have MSG in their
Yes. Yeah. And there's a lot of bad things that they are coming out with that are related to MSG. There's a lot of women that have huge allergies to MSG, massive headaches, and they don't realize what it's coming from. And she was so lucky to, be able to figure that out, because MSG is, if you actually start reading labels, ladies, MSG is in everything. When we talk about the standard American diet, and I did a little video this morning on fiber. Hopefully you guys will find it and see it and get to, and my fiber smoothie recipe.
If not, there's an email coming out about it. So
Yes.
if you're on our email list, you can subscribe. And if you're not, you can subscribe on the website. But that email will be coming out, I think, well, when they see this, the email will already be out. So go through your inbox.
Well, there will also be a blog article about my smoothie and the video.
And in the app,
Yes.
in the topics, you'll be able to find that pretty easily too.
Yep. And if you haven't downloaded the app, I highly recommend doing that if you haven't checked out Mental Life yet. It has been, I know.
We're making some really, so Danielle and I are pretty heavily involved in this app and what we want to see come out of it. And we're making some really fantastic changes in the beta rollout, which is happening in April-ish. We're super excited about it. So if you haven't checked out the app, shameless plug, check out the app.
Really check out the app, because a lot of our content, the majority of our content goes there. So if you really, if you found us through social channels or whatever, you really enjoy our content and, the information that we give around menopause, the app has so much more. And there's a lot of new cool things coming out around mindfulness and how that can help you with menopause. And you are able to track your symptoms. And so that's been a big beneficial thing for me going through all of this. Are you setting your face? Is that what you're doing?
Yes. So I'm using setting spray and I really like it. It's very effective, but it smells kind of like roses, like old school rose perfume.
Yeah.
Not my favorite smell in the world, but yes, that's what I'm doing. And I don't like the smell, and I make these faces. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, and I know from our videos, you can only see one of us, whoever's talking at the time. So I'm sitting here watching, and I can see Vanessa spraying her face, and I'm like, what is she doing?
We only have like 10 minutes left, and I really, really wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of things we mentioned in previous episodes, and that is one, can you give us an update on your hair? Yeah.
Drinking my coffee. Yes. My hair is doing a little bit better. I have always struggled with weight and my nutrition mind. So I take Menofit as my primary probiotic. And as I was noticing things with my hair and what was going on and, how much hair I was losing in the shower and stuff, I said, you know what, Danielle, we have a product for hair to help. I should probably start including that in my regimen. I don't necessarily have bad acne, or anything like that. So for me, MenoGlow was not top of mind for what my needs were. Menofit was definitely my probiotic of choice based on what my preferences were and stuff. And so I started including I take my two Menofit, and I added in a single MenoGlow into my regimen over the last couple weeks, and I am seeing a big improvement. And it was kind of one of those like hit the forehead on your hand on the forehead kind of moments, or like, duh. We get so caught up, women, we get so caught up in what we're taking and stuff like that. That sometimes we're afraid to try something new, or we just don't remember, or we don't go out and we're not looking anymore because we're on something that works. But new things come into play all the time, and so it's okay to like switch them up. Our probiotics are good to take in conjunction with each other. You just might have to reduce. It might be for you. It might be one Menofit, one MenoGlow, if that's what works for you. I'm at a point where I can take 3 a day. Our recommended serving is 2. So if you were starting out on this, I would recommend one Menofit, one MenoGlow, just throwing that in there. But then you could increase as time goes on, and it depends on how your body reacts to it. A lot of times women, when they start probiotics, they start having maybe a little bit more gassiness, or, their stools are a little more fluid or soft. And that scares women. They think that maybe they're, having diarrhea. Or maybe you are. And so cut back your probiotics just a little bit. It might be because you're not used to getting probiotics in your diet already. So your body needs a time to adjust. And just like a detox, your body is going through a change. It's changing your microbiome. Your microbiome affects so much within your body.
I actually want to talk about, not now because we have 7 minutes left. These things always go way too short, way too fast. I'm always like, oh my gosh, we got to call it 10:30, right? But here's the thing: I want to talk about. Our researchers sent over some really interesting data the other day about how the microbiome changes in menopause. Fascinating stuff. And so I want to talk about that in our next episode, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
So I have to give you an update on my mom brain.
Okay.
So my daughter is 20. What year is it?
2021.
Yeah, she's going to be 24. Yes, I think I can't remember how old I am most days, let alone how old she is. I remember my grandmother always saying, come and see me. And she'd, run through the names of all the dogs she ever had in her life, and then all of her children, and then half her grandchildren before she got to my name. And I feel like that's happening to me too. But anyway, that's a different aspect of mom brain, maybe. So, she's been living with us over the pandemic, and she's definitely ready to move out, right? And I mentioned this a few episodes ago that I have been having some real issues around her safety, like you do when you send your kid off to their first sleepover or to their first, summer camp or whatever it is, right? And she watches these videos, so she's been really sensitive to that, I think, over the last few weeks. And she's just been, okay, Mom, so I'm thinking I'm going to move to this. I'm checking out this apartment in a virtual tour this weekend, and here's the safety protocols, and this is gated, and they have surveillance, and she's just been really, really good about trying to address my wacky brain.
Your mama bear brain, that's what it is. It's the mama bear, right?
But I mean, when I was her age, she had already been born, right? I had a child. I had moved, 2,000-3,000 miles across the country away from my mother. And I just keep having to tell myself that it's okay. She's the same age I was when I was definitely a full-fledged parent and out on my own. So the pandemic has made things very, very interesting. I've been really, really grateful for this time with her, though. But I'm also really looking forward to getting back in the office because my neighbors are hammering away again today. I love them. And they're doing great home improvements. Oh boy, I'm ready to not hear hammers.
Yes. There's been, so much that I think the pandemic has given and taken away. And, remember, ladies, to just, I know it's hard, and there's a lot of women that are struggling, whether it's losing jobs, there's been definitely a decrease in that because things can't be open. I think we're on a good road to recovery. Hopefully we can see life resume, and there will be a new normal, and I think that's okay. But I've been very thankful for the time with my kids as well. It's been very rewarding to take a step back, as frustrating as it was, as, oh my gosh, we're doing school from home, having to step in and become the teacher, the mom, the lunch lady, still do work and all the things that I would normally have to handle. It's been very stressful, very, there's been a lot of additional stress. And I know a lot of women are struggling through that same thing. But take a step back. Remember to take a step back and to look at things from a different lens, a different perspective, and appreciate this time that we've been able to have with our kids. And or maybe it's a time to self-reflect or pay attention to yourself and your needs, or maybe you've been able to focus in on your diet and your eating because you haven't been eating out as much, right?
Right. No
There's
break room temptation for me. That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah. So I want to say thank you, ladies. This has been, I've actually really enjoyed. Hopefully you got to see all of, Vanessa and I putting on our makeup this whole time.
I feel like I did not do a very good job today.
You know what? And I have to show, so I've got my little mirror over here and I've been putting things on, and maybe you didn't get to see all of it, but I hope you guys got to see enough of it. Our little before and after, there it is. The all natural us and the makeup us. Honestly, I think makeup does more for our own self-perception than, because I am sure that many of you, I can see it right now with Vanessa. She looks as beautiful now as she did when we started. To me, there's not really a true, oh my gosh, no, she's beautiful and gorgeous now. And before she wasn't. No, she was beautiful and gorgeous before. And I think that it speaks to makeup gives us our own self-perception of beauty. It doesn't necessarily define our beauty. So
that's right. Danielle's always so wise. I'm older, but she's definitely wiser.
I don't know. Well, thank you, ladies. I've appreciated today. I appreciate every moment that I get to spend with you guys, and hopefully you guys appreciate the time here as well. So.
And we will see you next time when we talk about what happens with your microbiome. And I think we should always give ourselves a fun little challenge while we're doing these videos. So I don't know what the next one will be, but stay tuned because I'm sure we can come up with something fun. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.